Security! We have a vagrant situation in the lobby. Remove this woman immediately before she disturbs our real guests. Hotel manager Brittany Coleman's voice echoed through the marble halls of the Grand Meridian Hotel. She stood with arms crossed, physically blocking Zara Washington from the elevator bank while pointing at her like she was diseased. Zara remained motionless in her immaculate charcoal suit, black leather portfolio pressed against her chest. Wealthy white guests formed a semicircle, phones already recording what they expected to be another Karen moment for social media. Coleman turned to this gathering crowd, voice dripping with theatrical disgust. These people think expensive clothes give them access to our world. Security will escort her to the service entrance where she belongs. The lobby buzzed with whispered approval. Zara's dark eyes never left Coleman's face, studying her with an unsettling, almost predatory calm. Have you ever been judged by your appearance before anyone bothered to learn who you really are? Coleman's manicured finger jabbed toward the hotel's service entrance. The help uses the back door. Surely someone taught you that basic courtesy. Two security guards materialized from behind marble pillars, hands resting on their tasers. The taller one, a thick-necked man named Rodriguez, spoke into his radio. Code yellow in the main lobby. Potential trespassing situation. Zara glanced at her Cartier watch. The platinum face caught the chandelier light. 10 minutes until my appointment upstairs. What appointment? Coleman's laugh was sharp, performative. Lady, the only appointment you have is with the sidewalk outside. A young Asian woman near the concierge desk held up her phone, live streaming. Melissa Carter whispered to her screen, "This is insane. This hotel manager is literally throwing out a black businesswoman for no reason." The viewer count climbed. 847, 1,203, 2,847. Coleman noticed the cameras and played to them. Ladies and gentlemen, witness what happens when certain people think designer knockoffs grant them access to luxury establishments. The crowd murmured approval. A silver-haired man in a tennis outfit nodded. Good for you, dear. Standards matter. Zara's portfolio shifted slightly, revealing a flash of platinum plastic, a key card with magnetic strip. She tucked it deeper into the leather folder before anyone else noticed. Her phone buzzed. The screen lit up. Legal team, ready for acquisition announcement. Boardroom prepared. Coleman's eyes narrowed, trying to read the message. Probably her parole officer checking in. More phones appeared. The lobby transformed into a makeshift filming studio with Zara as the unwilling star. Someone started a Facebook live stream. Another uploaded to TikTok with the caption, Karen Manager versus Entitled Woman. Rodriguez stepped closer, his partner flanking Zara's right side. Ma'am, you need to leave voluntarily or we'll escort you out. I understand your confusion, Zara said, her voice barely above a whisper. But I suggest you verify my appointment before taking irreversible action. Coleman's face flushed. Irreversible? Honey, the only thing irreversible here is the damage to this hotel's reputation if we let random people waltz through our doors. The live stream viewers multiplied. Carter held her phone steady, narrating for her growing audience. The woman is asking them to verify something, but they won't listen. This is getting really uncomfortable. Comments flooded Carter's stream. Call the news! This is straight racism. Hotel name? Let's review bomb them. That lady is way too calm. A hotel guest blogger, James Mitchell, typed rapidly on his tablet near the bar area. His post titled, Discrimination in Real Time, Grand Meridian's Shameful Display, was already generating shares across hospitality industry forums. Coleman sensed her viral moment and amplified her performance. I've worked luxury hospitality for 12 years. I can spot someone who doesn't belong from across the room. This woman, she gestured dismissively at Zara, is clearly here for some kind of scam or handout. Zara opened her portfolio just enough to glimpse inside. Beyond the platinum keycard, several documents were visible. One letterhead read, Washington Hospitality Group in elegant script. Another showed legal signatures and corporate seals. She closed the portfolio before Coleman could focus on the details. 8 minutes remaining, Zara said, checking her watch again. 8 minutes until what? Rodriguez demanded. Until your imaginary meeting with the Tooth Fairy? The security guards moved to flank her completely. The crowd pressed closer, phones held high. Carter's viewer count hit 8,000. Local news alerts pinged on phones across the city. Viral discrimination incident unfolding at Grand Meridian Hotel. Coleman's confidence peaked. She'd created the perfect social media moment, the brave hotel manager protecting standards against entitled troublemakers. Her performance was flawless, her authority unquestioned. Ladies and gentlemen, Coleman announced to the cameras, this is how we maintain the integrity of luxury hospitality. Some people think being loudly indignant grants them special treatment. She turned back to Zara with theatrical sympathy. Sweetheart, whatever Groupon deal you think you have, whatever customer service complaint you're planning to file, whatever social justice campaign you're running, none of it works here. This is private property with private standards. Zara's phone buzzed again. This time, the caller ID was visible. Morrison Derek, GM Grand Meridian. Coleman saw the name and laughed. Oh, now you're calling my boss? How precious. Derek Morrison has been general manager here for 15 years. He'll tell you exactly what I'm telling you. The phone stopped buzzing. Zara didn't answer. 6 minutes, she said quietly. Rodriguez's radio crackled. All units, we have media attention on code yellow. Handle with appropriate discretion. Chen's live stream exploded past 15,000 viewers. The hashtag #GrandMeridianRacism began trending locally. Screenshots of Zara's calm dignity contrasted against Coleman's theatrical aggression spread across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. But something in Zara's composure unsettled the smarter observers. She stood too still, too confident. Her eyes held knowledge that didn't match her supposed predicament. Coleman missed these subtleties entirely, drunk on her viral performance and crowd approval. Security, she commanded with flourish. Please escort this woman from the premises. Use the service exit, and document everything for our incident report. The guards moved closer. Phones recorded every angle. Carter's audience reached 18,000 viewers, with comments flowing too fast to read. Zara remained perfectly still, portfolio clutched against her chest, watching Coleman with the patience of someone who knew exactly how this story would end. General Manager Derek Morrison burst through the executive elevator doors, his silver hair perfectly styled despite the urgency. 15 years of luxury hospitality management had taught him to project absolute authority in crisis situations. What's the situation here? Morrison's voice boomed across the marble lobby. Coleman straightened, energized by her superior's arrival. Derek, thank God. This woman is refusing to leave after I explained she doesn't belong here. She's been disruptive for nearly 10 minutes. Morrison studied Zara with practiced assessment. Designer suit, expensive accessories, confident posture, but his prejudices aligned with Coleman's assumptions. Ma'am, I'm Derek Morrison, General Manager. I understand you're confused about hotel policies, but private establishments maintain certain standards. Chen's live stream hit 22,000 viewers. Her whispered commentary became breathless. Now the General Manager is here. This is escalating so fast. Comments exploded. Get the lawyers! Someone call the NAACP. This hotel is toast. Why is she so calm, though? Zara checked her watch. 7 minutes remaining. 7 minutes until what? Morrison demanded, his patience evaporating. Whatever appointment you believe you have, I can assure you it doesn't exist in my hotel. Rodriguez stepped closer, hand now visibly resting on his taser. His partner, Johnson, moved to block any escape route toward the elevators. The semicircle of recording guests tightened around Zara like a noose. Sir, Rodriguez reported. Subject has been non-compliant for 12 minutes. Claims to have an appointment upstairs. No verification provided. Morrison nodded approvingly. Security protocols exist for good reason. Ms. Washington, Zara replied simply. Ms. Washington, I've managed this property for 15 years. Every legitimate guest is cleared through our system. Every business meeting is pre-approved by my office. You're not in our database." A murmur of satisfaction rippled through the crowd. Morrison's authority seemed absolute, his logic unassailable. Several guests nodded approvingly, their phones still recording what they viewed as justified enforcement of hotel standards. James Mitchell, the blogger near the bar, typed furiously on his tablet. His post had already gained 847 shares across hospitality forums. Industry insiders were beginning to weigh in, most supporting Morrison's stance on security protocols. His piece titled "When Hotels Must Draw Lines" was gaining traction among property management circles. Chen's viewer count climbed: 28,000, 31,000, 35,000. Local news vans were pulling up outside. A WKRN reporter texted her producer, "Live discrimination incident at Grand Meridian. Getting huge social media traction. Need crew here now." Coleman sensed momentum and pressed harder. "Derek, she keeps mentioning some mysterious appointment. Won't provide details, won't leave voluntarily. She's clearly running some kind of social media scam for attention." The accusation hung in the air like poison. Several guests nodded knowingly, familiar with viral discrimination hoaxes they'd seen exposed online. "I need exactly 4 minutes to resolve this situation," Zara said, her voice remaining unnaturally calm. Morrison scoffed. "You have 0 minutes. This is private property and you're trespassing." He turned to Rodriguez. "Call Metro Police. File a formal trespassing complaint." The crowd pressed closer, phones capturing every angle. An elderly woman in pearls whispered loudly, "Finally, someone with backbone. Standards matter in civilized society." A middle-aged businessman adjusted his Rolex and spoke up. "I pay premium rates for this hotel specifically because they maintain exclusivity." "Good for you, Morrison." Rodriguez pulled out his radio. "Dispatch, we need a unit at Grand Meridian Hotel, 1900 West End. Trespassing in progress, subject refusing to comply. Requesting backup for potential media situation." Chen's audience exploded past 40,000. The hashtag Grand Meridian discrimination was trending nationwide. Screenshots flooded Twitter showing the stark contrast. A composed black businesswoman surrounded by aggressive white hotel staff and approving white guests. But social media cut both ways. Counter-narratives emerged in real time. Hotels have security protocols for a reason. Why won't she just show ID and prove her appointment? Probably another staged discrimination stunt. "I support this hotel's right to maintain standards." Morrison read some comments over shoulders, gaining confidence from supporters. "Ladies and gentlemen, witness responsible hospitality management. We cannot compromise security for social media theater." A well-dressed couple near the concierge desk applauded. The woman, dripping with diamonds, spoke loudly enough for the cameras. "This is exactly why we choose establishments like this. They don't cave to pressure tactics." Zara's phone buzzed. "Legal team, board members arriving early. Status update needed ASAP." She didn't answer, but Morrison caught a glimpse of the screen. "Legal team? Now you're threatening lawsuits? How predictable. Another shakedown attempt disguised as social justice."
3 minutes remaining,"
Zara said quietly. The lobby had transformed into a circus. Hotel guests abandoned their check-ins to record the confrontation. Carter's livestream viewers hit 45,000. News helicopters circled overhead, their cameras capturing the scene from above. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Rodriguez's radio crackled. "Unit 47 responding to Grand Meridian. ETA 4 minutes. Be advised, media presence confirmed on scene." "Hear that?" Coleman announced to the cameras, her voice rising with theatrical triumph. "Police are coming. This charade ends now." Morrison stepped directly in front of Zara, invading her personal space with deliberate intimidation. His cologne was overwhelming, his presence aggressive. "I don't know what game you're playing, but it stops here. 15 years managing luxury properties taught me to spot troublemakers immediately." Several guests murmured approval. A man in a golf shirt raised his phone higher, ensuring he captured Morrison's authoritative stance. "This is how real leaders handle entitled behavior," he announced to his own social media followers. Zara remained motionless, but something shifted in her eyes. The patience was hardening into something more dangerous, more calculating. "You mentioned troublemakers," she said softly. "In your 15 years, how many discrimination lawsuits has this property faced?" Morrison's face flushed. "None, because we maintain professional standards and don't tolerate disruption from people trying to exploit racial tensions for personal gain." "Interesting," Zara murmured, almost to herself. Chen caught the exchange on her stream. Comments exploded. "She knows something. This lady has intel. Plot twist coming. Why does she seem so confident? Something's about to happen." A hotel attorney watching Carter's live stream from his downtown office frantically tried calling Morrison. The phone rang unanswered. Morrison was too focused on his public performance to notice the vibration in his pocket. Johnson, the second security guard, shifted nervously. Something about Zara's composure bothered him. In 12 years of hotel security, he'd never encountered someone so calm while surrounded and threatened. His instincts screamed warnings that his training couldn't explain. "Ma'am," Johnson said quietly, "if you have legitimate business here, just show us some documentation. We can resolve this peacefully." Coleman shot him a withering look. "Johnson, don't negotiate with people trying to manipulate us. That's exactly what they want. Doubt, confusion, weakness." Morrison agreed emphatically. "Absolutely not. She's had 15 minutes to provide credentials. Time's up. We don't negotiate with social media scammers." Outside, police cars arrived with sirens blaring. Carter's viewer count hit 47,000. The local news van parked directly outside the main entrance, reporters rushing toward the lobby with cameras rolling and microphones ready. 2 minutes, Zara said, checking her watch one final time. The crowd sensed climax approaching. Phones captured every breath, every facial expression, every muscle twitch. Morrison and Coleman basked in their authority, certain of victory, riding high on crowd approval and social media support from their defenders. Rodriguez moved to physically restrain Zara. "Ma'am, place your hands behind your back. You're under citizen's arrest for trespassing." But Zara stepped away from him smoothly, moving toward the marble reception desk with fluid grace. Her portfolio remained clutched against her chest like armor, like a secret weapon waiting to be deployed. "One final opportunity," she said to Morrison, her voice carrying across the silent lobby with crystalline clarity. "Are you certain you want to proceed with this course of action?" Morrison laughed for the cameras, his confidence absolute. "Absolutely certain. Someone like you should learn there are consequences for thinking expensive clothes grant access to establishments with standards." The phrase, "someone like you," echoed through the marble space like a gunshot. Carter's livestream comments went insane. The crowd held its collective breath, sensing something momentous approaching. Zara nodded slowly, as if Morrison had just confirmed something she'd been waiting to hear all along. She placed her portfolio on the reception desk and looked directly into Carter's camera. Her eyes held knowledge that made seasoned observers suddenly uncomfortable, suddenly aware they might be witnessing something unprecedented. "Time's up," she said quietly. Then she opened the portfolio. Zara's fingers moved with surgical precision, extracting a single document from her portfolio. The paper was heavy, cream-colored, bearing multiple corporate seals and signatures. She placed it face down on the marble reception desk. The lobby fell silent except for the soft hum of recording phones and distant sirens. Morrison stepped forward confidently, expecting to debunk whatever fabricated credentials this woman had prepared. "Let me guess. Fake business cards? Forged hotel reservations? We've seen every scam in the book." Coleman smirked at the cameras. "This should be entertaining." Chen's livestream audience hit 52,000 viewers. Comments flooded the screen faster than human eyes could track. The tension was suffocating, electric. Zara flipped the document over. Morrison's eyes found the letterhead first. Washington Hospitality Group, Corporate Acquisition Division. His confident smile faltered as he read the bold text beneath. Controlling Interest Acquisition, Grand Meridian Hotels International. The paper slipped from his suddenly trembling fingers. Coleman leaned over his shoulder, reading aloud before her brain could process the implications. Effective August 9th, 2025, Washington Hospitality Group has acquired 73% controlling interest in Grand Meridian Hotels through... Her voice died mid-sentence. Rodriguez caught the document as it fluttered toward the floor. His eyes scanned the legal jargon, the signatures, the official seals. "Sir, this looks real." "It can't be," Morrison whispered, but his face had drained of all color. Zara's voice cut through the chaos with ice-cold precision. "I am Zara Washington, Chief Executive Officer of Washington Hospitality Group. As of 9 a.m. this morning, my company owns controlling interest in this property." The words hit the lobby like a shockwave. Chen's phone nearly slipped from her trembling hands. "Oh my God," she whispered to her 58,000 viewers. "She owns the hotel. She literally owns the hotel they just threw out." Comments exploded. "Plot twist of the century. She's the owner. This is insane. They're so fired. Holy shit!" Morrison staggered backward, his 15 years of authority crumbling in seconds. That's impossible. I would have been notified. The board would have told me." Zara retrieved a second document from her portfolio, a board meeting agenda. The notification meeting was scheduled for 3 p.m. today, in the penthouse boardroom, the same appointment I mentioned repeatedly. Coleman's face contorted as reality crashed down. "You're lying. This is some elaborate hoax. Derek, tell her she's lying." But Morrison couldn't speak. He stared at the acquisition papers, recognizing the signatures of board members, the seal of Grand Meridian's parent company, the legal formatting that couldn't be faked. Rodriguez stepped away from Zara, his hand moving off his taser. "Ma'am, we didn't know." "Of course you didn't know," Zara replied calmly. "That was rather the point of your colleague's behavior, wasn't it? Assumptions based on appearance rather than verification of facts." Johnson, the second security guard, read over Rodriguez's shoulder. 12 years of hotel security had taught him to recognize authentic corporate documents. The watermarks, the legal language, the multiple notarizations. This was real. Chen's live stream audience reached 65,000. News helicopters circled overhead like vultures. The hashtag Grand Meridian owner was trending globally. A well-dressed woman in the crowd, the same one who'd applauded Morrison earlier, slowly lowered her phone. "Derek, is this real? Does she actually own this place?" Morrison's voice cracked. I need to make some calls." "No," Zara said firmly. "You need to listen." She produced a third document, thicker than the others, bound in legal blue backing. Washington Hospitality Group's acquisition included comprehensive due diligence on all properties. Your employment history, Mr. Morrison, makes for fascinating reading. Morrison's face went from pale to gray. "What do you mean?" "Sexual harassment settlement 2018, hushed up by corporate. Discrimination complaint 2020, also buried. And today's performance," Zara gestured to the phone still recording, "witnessed by 67,000 people and counting." The lobby audience began stepping away from Morrison as if he'd become toxic. Their phones continued recording, but the narrative had completely flipped. Coleman tried to salvage the situation. "This is insane. Even if she owns part of the hotel, we were following security protocols. We had no way of knowing." "You had every opportunity to verify my appointment," Zara replied. "Instead, you chose humiliation as your first response." Chen's viewer count hit 71,000. Local news crews pushed through the hotel entrance, cameras rolling, reporters shouting questions. "Ms. Washington, can you comment on the acquisition? How long have you owned this property? What's your response to the discrimination incident?" Zara ignored the reporters, focusing on Morrison. Section 12.4 of our acquisition agreement specifically addresses incidents of bias, discrimination, or harassment by management personnel. Morrison's hands shook as he reached for the document. Section 12.4. Immediate termination for cause. No severance. No references. Complete forfeiture of pension benefits. The words hit like physical blows. Morrison's 15-year career, his reputation, his retirement, all evaporating in real time. Coleman's voice rose to hysteria. "This is a setup. She planned this whole thing. It's entrapment." "Planning what?" Zara asked with devastating calm. "Planning to walk into my own hotel? Planning to attend my own board meeting? The only plan here was yours, to humiliate someone you deemed unworthy." A hotel board member materialized from the elevator bank, Margaret Carter, no relation to the live streamer. She approached Zara with obvious deference. "Ms. Washington, my sincerest apologies. We've been waiting in the boardroom. When you didn't arrive, we became concerned." Morrison's legs nearly gave out. If board members were here, confirming Zara's identity, confirming the acquisition. "Margaret," Zara said without taking her eyes off Morrison, "please meet Derek Morrison, your soon-to-be former general manager, and Brittany Coleman, your former front-of-house manager." Margaret Carter's face showed genuine shock as she processed the scene. The cameras, the crowd, the obvious confrontation. "What happened here?" "Mr. Morrison and Ms. Coleman decided that my appearance disqualified me from entering my own property. They called security, threatened arrest, and performed their bigotry for social media." Margaret's face darkened. "Derek, please tell me this isn't what it looks like." Morrison opened his mouth, but no words came. Coleman made one final desperate play. "Margaret, you know me. I've worked here for 8 years. I was protecting the hotel's reputation. How was I supposed to know she was—" "Black?" Zara finished quietly. The word hung in the air like an accusation that couldn't be denied. Chen's live stream hit 78,000 viewers. The comments section was pure chaos, but one message kept repeating, "This is legendary." Rodriguez and Johnson exchanged glances. Both men had families, mortgages, careers to protect. Rodriguez spoke first. "Ma'am, Ms. Washington, we were following orders from management. We didn't make assumptions about—" "You drew weapons on the owner of this property," Zara interrupted. "You threatened to arrest me for trespassing in my own building." Johnson stepped forward. "Ma'am, if there's anything we can do to make this right—" "There is," Zara said. She opened her portfolio one final time, retrieving a tablet computer. "This contains security footage from the last 30 minutes. Every word, every gesture, every moment of this incident." Morrison's face went ashen. Security footage meant corporate liability, legal exposure, insurance implications. "But here's what's interesting," Zara continued, her voice carrying across the silent lobby. "The cameras also caught something else, something Mr. Morrison doesn't know about yet." She tapped the tablet screen. A video began playing, security footage from 2 hours earlier showing Morrison in his office, speaking on the phone. Morrison's voice echoed from the tablet speakers. "I don't care what the acquisition papers say. These Washington hospitality people think they can just waltz in here and change everything. Well, they'll learn what real hospitality management looks like." The lobby erupted. Carter's live stream audience exploded past 85,000. Morrison's own words condemned him completely. Coleman stared at her boss in horror. "Derek, what did you do?" But Morrison was beyond response. He stood frozen, watching his career implode in real time, witnessed by nearly 90,000 people and growing. Zara closed the tablet and returned it to her portfolio. "The board meeting can now proceed. Mr. Morrison, Ms. Coleman, security will escort you from the premises." Margaret Carter stepped forward. "Ms. Washington, on behalf of the board, I offer our deepest apologies. This behavior is absolutely unacceptable and doesn't represent our values." "It represents exactly your values," Zara replied quietly. Until now. She turned to face Carter's camera directly, addressing the 91,000 viewers watching history unfold. Change doesn't happen with quiet dignity. It happens when power confronts prejudice, and prejudice loses. The lobby fell completely silent, except for the soft sound of recording phones and distant sirens. Morrison finally found his voice. "Zara, Ms. Washington, I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But 15 years of service..." 15 years of exactly this behavior, Zara cut him off. The difference is, today it was recorded. She closed her portfolio and walked toward the elevator bank. The crowd parted before her like water. At the elevator doors, she turned back one final time. The board meeting will proceed as scheduled. New management policies will be implemented immediately. This property will become a model for inclusive hospitality, because today, everyone learned what happens when assumptions meet reality. The elevator doors opened. Chen's live stream hit 95,000 viewers as Zara Washington, CEO, owner, and the woman they'd tried to throw out, stepped into her own elevator in her own hotel. The doors closed behind her, leaving chaos, careers in ruins, and nearly 100,000 witnesses to what would become legendary. The penthouse boardroom buzzed with tension as Zara Washington entered, flanked by her legal team. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, but all eyes focused on the woman who'd just delivered the most viral corporate comeuppance in hospitality history. 7 board members sat around the mahogany conference table, tablets and documents spread before them. Margaret Carter gestured to the head chair, Zara's chair now, as controlling shareholder. "Before we address the acquisition details," Zara said, settling into her seat, "we need to discuss the liability incident that just occurred downstairs." Her chief legal counsel, David Rodriguez, no relation to hotel security, opened his briefcase. The discrimination event was witnessed by 97,000 live stream viewers, recorded by multiple phones, and captured on hotel security cameras. We're looking at potential federal civil rights violations. Board member James Patterson shifted uncomfortably. "Ms. Washington, while Derek Morrison's behavior was inappropriate, surely we can handle this internally without..." "Without what?" Zara's voice cut like steel. "Without accountability? Without consequences? Without acknowledging that your former general manager's actions could have cost this company millions?" She activated the room's presentation screen, displaying real-time data. "In the 30 minutes since this incident began trending, Grand Meridian Hotel's stock price dropped 4.7%. That represents $42 million in market value." The numbers silenced the room. Current social media reach, 2.3 million impressions across platforms. Sentiment analysis, 87% negative. Boycott hashtags trending in 14 major markets. Board member Susan Kim leaned forward. "How do we contain this?" "We don't contain it," Zara replied firmly. "We own it, we fix it, and we ensure it never happens again." David Rodriguez distributed legal documents to each board member. Section 12.4 of the acquisition agreement specifically addresses discrimination incidents. Mr. Morrison's termination is mandatory, not optional. Patterson scanned the paperwork, his face growing pale as he read the legal implications. Termination for cause eliminates his severance package, pension vesting, even his health insurance continuation. That seems harsh. Harsh? Zara's eyebrows rose. "Mr. Patterson, let me share some harsh realities. The hospitality industry faces approximately $2.3 billion annually in discrimination-related lawsuits. Properties with documented bias incidents see average revenue drops of 18% within 6 months." She clicked to the next slide, revealing Morrison's employment history in devastating detail. Morrison's employment file contains 2 previous discrimination complaints. Both were settled quietly by corporate, costing the company approximately $400,000 in legal fees and damages. The board members exchanged uncomfortable glances. Margaret Carter spoke first, her voice barely above a whisper. "We weren't aware of the previous incidents." Which brings us to systemic accountability, Zara continued, her tone becoming more pointed. How does a general manager accumulate multiple discrimination complaints without board oversight? How does this behavior become normalized, accepted, even protected? Silence stretched across the room like a physical weight. Board member Robert Hayes, who had served on the property board for 12 years, fidgeted with his pen. His involvement in previous cover-ups was becoming uncomfortably apparent. David, please outline our immediate liability exposure in specific terms. Rodriguez consulted his notes, his voice clinical and precise. Federal civil rights violation under Section 1981. Potential 7-figure fine. State discrimination penalties, up to $500,000 per incident. Private lawsuit damages, conservatively $2 to $5 million, given the viral nature and documented emotional distress factors. He paused, letting the numbers sink in. That's before we consider class action potential if other victims come forward. Board member Hayes paled noticeably. Other victims? Morrison's pattern suggests this wasn't isolated, Zara explained coldly. Our preliminary investigation identified at least 6 similar incidents over the past 3 years. All buried, all covered up, all creating ongoing liability. She clicked to a detailed financial analysis. Total exposure if all incidents become public. Estimated 15 to 25 million in settlements, legal fees, and punitive damages. The room's temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Hayes finally found his voice. What's your proposal for resolution? Zara stood, commanding the room's attention with absolute authority. Complete structural reform. Morrison and Coleman are terminated immediately, effective now. All severance packages voided under Section 12.4. That's within your authority as controlling shareholder, Margaret confirmed nervously. Rodriguez and Johnson, the security guards, will undergo mandatory bias training and sensitivity counseling. Failure to complete successfully results in termination. Their actions, while following orders, still constituted assault under Tennessee law. She clicked to a detailed implementation slide. New hiring protocol. All management positions require bias awareness certification from accredited institutions. Monthly sensitivity audits conducted by external firms with civil rights expertise. Guest complaint system with direct reporting to corporate compliance, bypassing local management entirely. Hayes studied the proposals, calculating costs in his head. The expense of these reforms is significantly less than ongoing discrimination lawsuits. Zara cut him off. Implementation budget, $400,000 annually across all properties. Average lawsuit settlement, $800,000 to $2 million per incident. Basic mathematics, Mr. Hayes. The financial logic was undeniable, even to the most resistant board members. Furthermore, Zara continued, we're implementing the Hospitality First Protocol. Every guest interaction begins with the assumption of legitimacy and belonging. Staff must verify concerns through established verification procedures before taking any exclusionary action. David Rodriguez added, Legal has drafted updated employee handbooks, comprehensive training modules, and anonymous reporting procedures. All current staff must complete certification within 60 days or face immediate termination. Board member Kim raised her hand tentatively. What about the media situation? How do we address the viral nature of this incident? The damage to our brand reputation? Zara smiled grimly. We don't fight the narrative. We own it completely. By 5 p.m. today, Grand Meridian Hotels will issue a comprehensive public statement acknowledging the discrimination, announcing the immediate terminations, and detailing our extensive reform initiatives. That seems like admitting legal guilt, Patterson protested, his lawyer instincts kicking in. We are guilty, Zara replied with brutal honesty. Denying obvious reality captured by 97,000 witnesses only amplifies the damage exponentially. Authentic accountability builds long-term trust and credibility. She clicked to a comprehensive PR strategy developed by her communications team. Full transparency. Live stream footage will not be suppressed or challenged. Media interviews will be granted to major outlets. We'll partner with established civil rights organizations to validate our reform efforts publicly. Margaret Carter nodded approvingly, beginning to see the strategic brilliance. That's actually brilliant. Turn the negative attention into positive change momentum. Exactly. The narrative becomes, hotel faces discrimination crisis, immediately terminates perpetrators, implements industry-leading reforms. We become the standard for accountability. Hayes looked skeptical, his concerns focused on broader implications. What if other properties in our chain have similar systemic issues? Then we address them proactively and transparently, Zara said firmly. David's legal team will conduct comprehensive bias audits at all 57 Grand Meridian properties within 90 days. Any discrimination patterns will be immediately corrected with full public disclosure. The scope of reform was staggering, but the alternative, ongoing liability and reputation destruction, was clearly worse. Rodriguez distributed additional financial documents. Here's the complete cost-benefit analysis. Reform implementation costs, approximately $23 million across all properties over 3 years. Projected lawsuit avoidance savings, $60 to $80 million annually in reduced legal exposure. The return on investment was mathematically compelling. One final element, Zara said, her voice carrying absolute finality. Morrison's termination will be completely public. His discriminatory actions were public, witnessed by nearly 100,000 people in real time. His consequences must be equally visible and permanent. Patterson winced visibly. That destroys his career permanently across the entire industry. His actions destroyed his career permanently, Zara corrected with ice-cold precision. We're simply ensuring the consequences match the visibility and severity of his choices. She turned to address the entire board directly. Every person in this room holds moral and legal responsibility for the toxic culture that enabled Morrison's behavior to flourish. Previous complaints were systematically buried instead of properly addressed. Warning signs were deliberately ignored for years. That institutional failure ends today. The boardroom fell silent except for the soft hum of air conditioning and distant traffic from the city below. Margaret Carter broke the heavy silence. All in favor of Ms. Washington's comprehensive reform proposal? 7 hands rose around the table without hesitation. The vote was unanimous. Motion carries unanimously, Margaret announced formally. Ms. Washington, you have full board authorization to implement immediate and comprehensive reforms. Zara nodded, then activated her phone with decisive authority. David, please notify legal to begin Morrison's immediate termination process. Security should escort him from the building within the hour. Already in progress, Rodriguez confirmed efficiently. Coleman has also been officially notified of her immediate termination. Board member Kim leaned forward. What's our precise timeline for public announcement? Press release goes live at 5 p.m. sharp, Zara replied. I'll conduct interviews with major outlets at 6. Full transparency, complete accountability, no corporate spin. Hayes looked impressed despite his initial resistance. You've turned a potential catastrophe into a transformative reform opportunity. Leadership means taking responsibility and driving meaningful change, Zara said simply. Today's incident was unfortunate but not unprecedented in this industry. Our response will be. She closed her portfolio and stood with final authority. The acquisition is complete, reforms are authorized, and accountability is underway. This property will become the industry standard for inclusive hospitality. Margaret Carter stood as well. Ms. Washington, on behalf of the entire board, thank you for handling this crisis with such decisive and principled leadership. Zara paused at the boardroom door. This wasn't a crisis. This was clarity. Today, everyone learned that discrimination has real consequences, and those consequences are no longer negotiable. She opened the door to find Morrison waiting in the hallway, flanked by security guards and legal representatives. His face was ashen, his 15-year career reduced to a cardboard box of personal belongings.
Derek, Zara said quietly but firmly, your termination is effective immediately. You have 30 minutes to exit the property permanently. Morrison's voice cracked with desperation. Zara, Ms. Washington, I know I made mistakes, but surely we can— You made deliberate choices, she corrected with finality. Those choices have consequences. Today, nearly 100,000 people witnessed those consequences in real time. Morrison nodded slowly, finally understanding that no appeal would change his irreversible fate. As he walked toward the elevator, escorted by security, Zara turned back to the boardroom. The real work begins now, she told the board. Changing institutional culture requires more than firing bad actors. It requires building comprehensive systems that prevent them from succeeding in the first place. The Grand Meridian Hotel would never be the same, and that was exactly the point. Within 2 hours, the Grand Meridian Hotel underwent the fastest corporate transformation in hospitality history. Zara Washington's reforms weren't just policy changes, they were systematic demolition of institutional discrimination. Morrison's termination became a public spectacle. Security escorted him through the same lobby where he'd humiliated Zara, past the same guests who'd recorded his downfall. His cardboard box of belongings seemed pathetically small compared to his massive fall from grace. Local news crews captured every step. Morrison's face, streamed live to millions, became the definitive image of accountability in corporate America. No statements, no excuses, just the long walk of consequences. Coleman followed 30 minutes later, her 8-year career ending in identical disgrace. The woman who'd blocked Zara's entrance now couldn't look at the cameras documenting her exit. Rodriguez and Johnson, the security guards, faced different fates. Both men had families, mortgages, and genuine remorse for their role in the incident. Zara's reform included second chances, conditional on complete bias training and public apology. We followed orders, Rodriguez admitted to Carter's still streaming audience, now at 127,000 viewers. But following orders doesn't excuse threatening an innocent person. We were wrong. Johnson nodded beside him. Ms. Washington showed us grace we didn't deserve. We'll earn back that trust through actions, not words. The Hospitality First protocol launched immediately. New signs appeared throughout the hotel. Every guest belongs here. Verification before assumption. Dignity always. Zara's communications team worked with surgical precision. The 5 p.m. press release didn't minimize or deflect. It acknowledged reality with brutal honesty. Grand Meridian Hotels failed today. Our staff discriminated against our own CEO based solely on her race. This failure is unacceptable, inexcusable, and will never happen again. The statement detailed Morrison's firing, Coleman's termination, and comprehensive reforms. No corporate speak, no liability protection, just raw accountability that shocked the business world. Major news outlets picked up the story within minutes. CNN, NBC, and Fox all led with the same narrative. Hotel CEO fires staff who discriminated against her. But Zara's masterstroke was partnering with civil rights organizations. The NAACP, Urban League, and Southern Poverty Law Center all endorsed Grand Meridian's reforms as industry-leading accountability. Dr. Kimberly James from the Civil Rights Institute praised the response during a live CNN interview. Ms. Washington could have pursued massive lawsuits. Instead, she chose systematic change. This is leadership. The hotel's transformation was immediate and visible. New staff training began that evening. Diverse hiring initiatives launched overnight. Guest feedback systems activated instantly. Margaret Carter, representing the board, issued her own statement. Today we learned that silence enables discrimination. Grand Meridian will never be silent again. Social media response split along predictable lines, but the numbers told the story.
Positive sentiment climbed from 13% to 67% within hours. Booking cancellations stopped. Corporate clients began inquiring about events. James Mitchell, the blogger who'd covered the initial incident, published a follow-up. "I've covered hospitality for 15 years. I've never seen accountability this swift, this complete, this authentic." Chen's live stream, still active after 8 hours, had reached 2.3 million total viewers. Her commentary evolved from shock to admiration. This is how you handle crisis. Own it, fix it, never repeat it. The financial markets responded positively too. Grand Meridian's stock, which had dropped 4.7% during the incident, recovered completely and closed up 2.1%. Investors rewarded authenticity and decisive leadership. But the real test came from unexpected sources. Guests of color, who'd avoided Grand Meridian properties for years due to reputation, began making reservations. Corporate diversity officers recommended the hotel for company events. Zara's evening press conference, conducted in the same lobby where she'd been humiliated, became a masterclass in crisis leadership. This incident revealed systemic problems we can no longer ignore. Discrimination thrives in silence and dies in sunlight. Today, we chose sunlight. Questions from reporters were direct, sometimes hostile, but Zara answered everything with calm transparency. "Will you sue for discrimination?" "No. Lawsuits don't change culture. Systems do." "What about your personal feelings?" "My feelings matter less than ensuring this never happens to anyone else." "Is this publicity stunt?" "Ask the 97,000 people who watched discrimination in real time if this was planned." The most powerful moment came when a young black girl in the audience raised her hand. "Ms. Washington, will hotels be safe for people who look like me now?" Zara knelt to the child's eye level. "Sweetheart, you belong everywhere your dreams take you, and now everyone knows it." The image, CEO comforting child, both black, both dignified, became iconic instantly. By midnight, Grand Meridian's transformation was complete. New policies active, new staff hired, new culture emerging. Morrison's LinkedIn profile showed former GM with no new opportunities. Coleman's hospitality career effectively ended. Their choices had permanent consequences. But Rodriguez and Johnson began their training program, determined to prove second chances matter. The viral incident that could have destroyed careers instead created a model for accountability. Change had come to Grand Meridian hotels, and the entire industry was watching. 6 months later, the Grand Meridian Hotel became a case study in Harvard Business School, Stanford's Graduate School of Business, and Cornell's Hotel Administration program. The incident that began with humiliation transformed into a blueprint for corporate accountability. Zara Washington's approach spawned industry-wide changes. 12 major hotel chains implemented similar hospitality-first protocols. The American Hotel and Lodging Association created the Washington Standard, mandatory bias training for all hospitality management. Morrison never worked in hospitality again. His LinkedIn remained dormant, his reputation permanently damaged by 97,000 witnesses. Coleman took a job in retail. Her hotel career ended by 30 minutes of recorded prejudice. But Rodriguez and Johnson became success stories. Both completed advanced bias training, earned diversity certifications, and were promoted to security supervisors. Their public redemption arc inspired other organizations to embrace second chances over permanent punishment. The financial results spoke louder than any moral victory. Grand Meridian's revenue increased 23% as diverse travelers chose properties that demonstrated authentic inclusion. Corporate bookings rose 31% as companies sought venues aligned with their values. Chen's live stream generated 47 million total views across platforms. She leveraged her viral fame into a social justice documentary career, with her first film focusing on everyday discrimination in service industries. The real impact emerged in countless untold stories. Black business travelers no longer steeled themselves for hotel confrontations. Families of color chose Grand Meridian properties with confidence. Young hospitality students saw leadership that looked like them. These touching stories and real-life stories demonstrated that individual courage could create systemic change. Zara's calm response to institutional racism became required viewing in business ethics courses nationwide. Professional development programs cited her example. Power used constructively rather than destructively, strategic thinking over emotional reaction, systemic reform instead of personal revenge. The viral moment also inspired legislative action. Tennessee passed the Hotel Accountability Act, requiring bias reporting and transparency in hospitality discrimination incidents. Other states followed with similar legislation. Life stories like Zara's proved that preparation, professionalism, and principles could overcome prejudice. Her dignified response became a template for marginalized leaders facing institutional barriers. But perhaps the most meaningful change was cultural. The phrase, "someone like you," disappeared from Grand Meridian staff vocabulary. The assumption of belonging replaced the assumption of otherness. Black stories, particularly stories of quiet strength triumphing over loud hatred, resonated across communities. Zara's example showed that true power came from lifting others while standing firm in your own worth. The incident taught America that discrimination has costs: financial, reputational, and moral. But it also demonstrated that accountability creates opportunity for genuine progress. Today, Grand Meridian Hotels leads the industry in diversity metrics, guest satisfaction among travelers of color, and corporate social responsibility ratings. The transformation from viral shame to industry leadership took precisely the time Zara predicted, just long enough for systems to replace symptoms. Her story became legend not because she destroyed her opponents, but because she chose to rebuild the entire foundation. Have you ever experienced discrimination that made you question your worth? Share your story in the comments below. Your voice matters, and change happens when we speak truth together. If this story inspired you, please share it with someone who needs to see what's possible when dignity meets determination. Subscribe to Black Soul Stories for more inspiring tales of resilience, justice, and triumph that prove our community's strength is unstoppable. Hit that notification bell, because everyone deserves to know their power, regardless of who tries to diminish it.